My parents drained my college fund to buy my brother a luxury car and pay for his wedding. 10 years later, they begged me for money to save their house. I let the bank take it and sent the full story to the entire family group chat. Before I get into it, if you like long Reddit-style stories about toxic families, golden children, financial betrayal, and quiet revenge, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. We're still pushing for our first 1,000 subscribers, and your support really helps the channel grow. Alright, here's what happened. I'm 28. I grew up in what people from the outside thought was a nice, close family. 2 parents, 2 kids, nice suburban house. My older brother Ethan is 31. If you ask my parents, he walks on water. Growing up, the roles were pretty clear. Ethan was the golden child. I was the responsible backup plan. They called him our little genius because he could smooth-talk teachers, charm adults, make jokes. He got in trouble constantly, but somehow it was always the other kid's fault, or boys will be boys. Me, I was the quiet kid with good grades and a color-coded planner. I did my homework without being asked, helped cook dinner, watched younger cousins at family events. My parents loved to brag about Ethan's charisma and my reliability, but only one of those things translated into actual support. When I was 13, my grandfather died and left a decent amount of money specifically for the grandchildren's education. He spelled it out in his will. This is to be split equally between Ethan and Emily for college or trade school. That should have been simple, 50-50. My parents made a big show of opening 2 separate accounts, Ethan's college fund and Emily's college fund. They'd say things like, "Don't worry, sweetheart, your future is secure. Grandpa wanted that." I believed them. I planned my life around that fund. While my friends stressed about student loans, I thought, at least I won't start my adult life buried in debt. Ethan, meanwhile, treated his fund like a vague, distant thing that would magically turn into success. He coasted through high school, barely graduating, then declared college not for him after a semester of partying and skipping class. My parents nodded along when he said, "School just kills creativity, and I'm more of an entrepreneur." At 19, he dropped out completely and started working on his business ideas. Those ideas mostly involved playing video games, doing occasional DoorDash runs, and talking a lot about crypto. Whenever he was broke, my parents bailout him out. I worked part-time in high school, studied hard, got into a solid state university with a scholarship that covered about half my tuition. The other half, I was told, would be covered by Grandpa's fund. That was the plan, until my senior year of high school. One afternoon, I overheard my parents whispering in the kitchen. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop. I walked in to get a snack and froze when I heard my name. "We'll put it back," my mom said, "once the business takes off." My dad sighed. "The dealership wants the down payment this week. If Ethan doesn't have a reliable car, how's he supposed to build anything? You heard what he said. Investors look at what you drive." I stepped around the corner. "What are you talking about?" I asked. They both jumped. My mom tried to plaster on a smile. "Oh, honey, nothing you need to worry about. Adult stuff." My dad, always worse at lying, said, "We're just figuring out some logistics with money. Ethan found a good deal on a car." A sinking feeling hit my stomach. "You're not using the college fund, are you?" I asked. "That's for school." My mom waved her hand. "It's all family money, Emily. Your brother needs a car to get his life started. You're so smart you'll get scholarships. Besides, Grandpa would want him to have a chance." I stared at her. "Grandpa literally wrote for education in the will," I said, "not for a BMW." "It's not a BMW," my dad muttered. Then, under his breath, "It's a used Audi." I felt like I couldn't breathe. "So are you taking from Ethan's fund or mine?" I asked. They exchanged a look. That told me everything. "We'll balance it out later," my mom said briskly. "It's not like you're starting college tomorrow. We have time." I wanted to scream, but I was 17, and years of conditioning kicked in. I swallowed the lump in my throat and went to my room. That night I logged into the online portal for my account. The balance was lower, a lot lower. Not empty, but no longer anything close to college paid for. I cried quietly into my pillow so they wouldn't hear. I felt betrayed in a way I couldn't fully explain. It wasn't just the money. It was that they'd taken something promised to me, something I'd counted on, and handed it to Ethan without a second thought. The next day, I confronted Ethan. "Did you know they used my college money for your car?" I asked. He shrugged. "Mom said it was from Grandpa," he said. "He wanted us to have good lives. What's the difference, really? We're family." "The difference is I need that for school," I said. "You're not in school." He rolled his eyes. "You're good at tests. You'll get a full ride somewhere, you always do. I need a car to make money. It's an investment." I wanted to ask where all his previous investments had gone, but I knew it would turn into a blow-up. I graduated high school with honors, got into a good university, and sat in a financial aid office, realizing I would now be taking out loans for the half my grandpa had tried to cover. When I asked my parents about the remaining fund, my mom said, "College is expensive, honey. Everything's gone up. We'll help where we can, but we're not made of money." They were made of money when Ethan needed a down payment on his car, apparently. So I did what I always did. I adapted. I took on campus jobs, applied for extra scholarships, lived in the cheapest dorm, skipped spring breaks other people took for granted. I watched Ethan post pictures with his work car and talk online about hustle culture while playing games all night. The money theft was bad enough. What broke something in me was what happened a couple of years later. I was in my second year of college, working 2 part-time jobs and carrying a full course load, when I got a call from my mom. "Great news," she said. "We're having a family dinner Saturday to celebrate Ethan's engagement." I was genuinely surprised. "Engagement to who?" "To Sophie," she said. "They've been on and off, but he proposed last night. Isn't that wonderful?" I'd met Sophie, nice enough. A little too willing to believe Ethan's big plans, but not a bad person. I took a bus home for the weekend and showed up for the big celebration dinner. Balloons, cake, the whole thing. My parents were glowing. Ethan and Sophie sat at the head of the table like royalty. Halfway through the meal, my dad tapped his glass. "We have an announcement," he said. "As you all know, we believe in supporting our kids' future, so we've decided to help Ethan and Sophie start their married life off right." My mom squeezed Sophie's hand. "We're going to pay for the wedding," she said, "and we've taken out a line of credit so we can contribute to a down payment on their house when they're ready." Everyone clapped. I felt like someone had poured ice water down my back. After dinner, when the guests had drifted to the living room, I pulled my parents aside. "Where is all this money coming from?" I asked quietly. "You told me you couldn't help with my tuition anymore." My dad frowned. "College is your responsibility now," he said. "You're an adult. We made sure you got a good start." "You made sure Ethan got a car and a wedding," I said. "My start is loans. Did you take more from the college funds?" My mom sighed in that put-upon way she does when anyone inconveniences Ethan. "Emily, everything doesn't have to be about you," she said. "Your brother is getting married. This is a once-in-a-lifetime thing." "So was my education," I said. "Grandpa's money was supposed to be for both of us. You spent most of mine on Ethan's car. Now you're going into more debt for his wedding while I'm drowning in loans." My dad snapped, "You're being selfish. Your brother's had a hard time, he needs a leg up. You're doing fine, you've always landed on your feet." I realized in that moment that "you'll be fine" was just their justification for squeezing me dry. My competence was my punishment. That night in my old bedroom, I opened that portal again. My college fund account was empty, completely. I sat there and dug through my emails, pulling up old balances, dates, amounts. I built a simple spreadsheet showing what Grandpa had left, what was moved out, when a suspiciously similar amount went to a car dealership. Then later, when a chunk vanished the week my parents bragged about paying for Ethan's wedding venue. I saved the file, and finally, I got angry enough to do something more than cry. The next morning, I told my parents over breakfast, "I'm heading back to campus today instead of tomorrow. I have extra hours at work." My mom looked annoyed. "I suppose your job is more important than sharing this weekend with your family," she said. I stared at her. "My job is what's paying for the education Grandpa already paid for once," I said. "I'm done talking about this." We didn't hug when I left. In college, I went low contact. Not no contact, I still texted on holidays, still came home once or twice a year. But something had shifted. I stopped telling them things. I didn't ask for their help. I didn't share my wins. They didn't ask much either unless it was to brag to someone else. After graduation, I moved to a different city, took a full-time job, and started the slow grind of paying off my loans. Ethan and Sophie got their wedding, their Instagram honeymoon, their starter home with help from family. For a while, I tried to be okay with it. It was just money, I told myself. I was building a career. I'd be fine. They needed help more. All the rationalizations children of favoritism tell themselves to make the cognitive dissonance hurt less. But my resentment simmered under the surface. Then 4 years after Ethan's wedding and about 10 years after Grandpa died, my phone lit up with a call from my mom. I let it go to voicemail. A minute later, my dad called. Then Ethan. Then my mom again. Something was wrong. I finally answered. "Emily, thank God," my mom said, sounding frantic. "We need to talk, it's an emergency." My first thought was someone died. My heart started racing. "What happened?" I asked. "It's the house," my dad cut in. "The bank is threatening foreclosure. We just need a little help catching up. You're doing well now, right? You've got that good job." There it was, not "Are you okay?" Not "How's your life?" Straight to "We need money." I asked, "Why is the bank foreclosing? I thought the mortgage was almost paid off." Silence, then my dad cleared his throat. "We refinanced a few years ago," he said. "Interest rates were low, and well, we took out a second mortgage." "For who?" I asked, though I already knew. "For Ethan and Sophie," my mom said defensively. "Their business idea needed capital, their family. We believed in them." I closed my eyes. "Let me guess," I said, "the business failed." "It didn't fail," my mom said quickly. "It just hasn't taken off yet. They've had some setbacks. No one could have predicted the economy." "How behind are you?" I asked. My dad exhaled. 3 months, he said. "By the end of this month it'll be 4. They're charging late fees. We're drowning. We thought maybe you could cover a few payments while Ethan gets back on his feet. It's only fair. We sacrificed a lot for you kids." Something inside me clicked into place. A decade of minimized pain, brushed off broken promises. "You'll be fine," all telescoped into this moment. They had taken my future stability to fund Ethan's toys and wedding. Now they wanted my present stability to bail him out again. And if I said no, I knew the story they'd tell. Ungrateful daughter, heartless, abandoning her parents. I decided I was done playing my assigned role. I'm sorry you're in this situation, I said slowly, but I'm not going to fix it for you. You're kidding, my mom said. Emily, this is our home. You grew up here. I grew up believing Grandpa's money would pay for college, I said. You used it on Ethan's car and his wedding. Now you're asking me, the kid you shortchanged, to pay the mortgage you put at risk to fund his business. Do you hear how insane that sounds? My dad's voice hardened. We are your parents, he said. We did everything for you. We fed you, housed you. You did the bare minimum required to not get arrested, I said. And even then, you used my future savings to spoil your son. I'm still paying off loans because of that. I'm not adding your debt to my list. I won't do it. You're being cruel, my mom snapped. We're talking about losing the family home. Where is your compassion? It died around the time my college fund did, I said. There was a stunned silence. If you hang up this phone, my dad said finally, you're dead to us. Don't expect anything in our will. I almost laughed. You already spent what was meant for me, I said. I'm just making sure you don't get the chance to do it twice. I hope you figure something out. Goodbye. I hung up. Then I blocked their numbers. My hands were shaking, but something in me felt light, like I had finally put down a heavy bag I'd been carrying since I was 17. Of course, that wasn't the end. When someone like my mother loses access to you directly, they find side doors. Within a day, I started getting messages from relatives I hadn't spoken to in years. Your parents are losing the house. How could you refuse to help? Family group chats lit up with guilt-trippy lines about honoring your parents and children's duty. The version of the story my parents told was predictable. Emily is doing so well but refused to help us for 1 month. After everything we did to support her, we paid for Ethan's wedding and she thinks that's unfair. They conveniently left out the part where they stole my college fund, or that the mortgage crisis was directly tied to Ethan's failed business. At first, I ignored the texts. Then my aunt, one of the few relatives who'd ever been kind to me, sent me a private message. Is there more to this than your mom is saying? She wrote. Because the way they're telling it makes you sound like a monster, and I don't believe that. I stared at that for a long time. Then I opened my laptop. I pulled up my old spreadsheet. I updated it with new context, dates of my grandfather's will, the starting amounts of both funds, the car purchase, the wedding payments, and now the refinanced mortgage for Ethan's business. I took screenshots of the spreadsheet, the bank transfers I still had access to from when I'd lived at home, and a few choice lines from text messages where my parents had literally said, "We used some of your college money for your brother. You'll be fine." Then I wrote a long, calm message and posted it right into the main family WhatsApp group chat, the one with cousins, aunts, uncles, grandparents, everyone. Since my name keeps coming up, I began, I'd like to share my side with receipts. I explained, chronologically and without insults, exactly what had happened. That Grandpa had left equal education funds for Ethan and me. That my parents had emptied most of mine for Ethan's car and wedding. That I'd taken on loans and jobs to cover what was supposed to be paid. That they'd later refinanced their house to fund Ethan's business. That now, they were behind on the mortgage and wanted me to fix it. That when I said no, they threatened to disown me and smear me to the family. I attached the screenshots. I'm not asking anyone to choose sides, I wrote. You're all adults. Believe whatever you want, but I will not be the silent scapegoat anymore. I won't take on debt to bail out the same pattern that put me in debt in the first place. Then I muted the chat and went to make dinner. My phone buzzed nonstop for an hour. When I finally checked, the conversation had turned interesting. Some relatives were predictably on my parents' side. This is private family business. How dare you air it like this? Your parents did their best. But others, especially my grandfather's siblings, were furious. He left that money for both children's education. Using it for a car was a betrayal of his wishes. I remember your mother bragging about Ethan's Audi. I just assumed they'd used their own savings. No wonder Emily went low contact. My parents tried to defend themselves. We had to make hard choices. Ethan needed a chance. We thought Emily would understand. She's always been so strong. But the tone of the group had shifted. For the first time in my life, the narrative wasn't entirely theirs. Later that week, my aunt called me privately. "Thank you for posting the truth," she said. "I had no idea they'd used your college money like that. You don't owe them your financial future." Not long after, I heard from that same aunt that the bank had gone through with foreclosure. My parents had to move into a small rental house across town. Ethan and Sophie moved in with her parents for a while. The family home I'd grown up in now belonged to someone else. Do I feel bad that they lost the house? On a human level, yes. It's sad. No one dreams of watching their childhood home slip away. But do I feel guilty that I didn't stop it? No. That house was built on a lie as far as I'm concerned. My value to them was as a backup wallet for their favorite child. Since then, I've focused on my own life. I paid off one of my smaller student loans entirely. I got a promotion at work. I moved into a nicer apartment and, for the first time, bought furniture that wasn't secondhand. Every time I make a responsible financial choice for myself, it feels like an act of rebellion against the script my parents wrote for me. Ethan tried once to reach out. He sent a long, rambling email about how we're all victims of circumstance and how Mom and Dad meant well. He ended with, "You know I always looked up to you. I hope someday you can forgive us all." I stared at that line for a long time. I didn't respond. I archived the email. Forgiveness, to me, would require real apologies and changed behavior. Not just vague, we meant well excuses when the consequences finally land on them instead of me. People sometimes ask, "Don't you worry about dying alone without family?" Honestly, I'd rather be alone with my own peace than surrounded by people who only see me as a resource. I'm building my own version of family now, friends who show up, colleagues who respect me, maybe someday a partner who doesn't see me as a walking safety net. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this. Just because someone is family doesn't mean you owe them your future, your savings, or your sanity, especially when they've already stolen your past. Thanks for listening to my story. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button, tell me in the comments whose side you're on, and don't forget to subscribe. We post long Reddit-style stories about relationships, toxic families, and revenge every day, and your support helps us reach our first 1,000 subscribers.